Today's morning coffee vinyl side, Mezzrow, Bechet, Really the Blues, 1956. Milton Mezzrow was an early jazz clarinetist, saxophonist, and band leader and financier. Born in 1899, he so fell in love with and identified with black music and culture, jazz and blues, that he eschewed his white Jewish identity and dove head, heart, and soul into what was then called Negro Culture, to such a degree that he considered himself and was accepted by the community as part of it. This wasn't just some performative BS either. On his draft card, he was listed as Negro, and when he was arrested and sent to prison for selling marijuana to his fellow jazz heads, he insisted on being incarcerated with the coloureds. Prisons were racially segregated at the time, as opposed to the whites, a request to which prison officials happily obliged. Mezzrow was there at jazz's beginnings, playing with and even managing Louis Armstrong for a spell, and was a lifelong jazz disciple, promoter, and band leader. He was also a fervent marijuana advocate and was so associated with dealing it to his fellow jazz heads that his name became synonymous for it, Mezz. Sidney Bechet was a contemporary of Louis Armstrong as well, with colored Creole roots, participating in the same Louisiana jazz scenes as those that birthed the genre. Originally a clarinetist, he became a soprano saxophonist, popularizing it in jazz, and is considered one of the finest soloists of the age. A difficult person to work with, he found himself often on the outside of opportunity and had a wanderlust in his heart that saw him seek residence in places like London and France. France was particularly dear to him. Black Americans were embraced there and given privilege not afforded them in America, and Bechet, with his fiery Creole heart, very much felt at home, particularly in Paris, both pre- and post-war. These recordings, done in the 40s, are wonderful. They're some of the absolute best of this style of jazz and blues and showcase the unity inherent in the interwoven nature of the melodic figures and solos of the two lead instruments. Balance and harmony are achieved as if the two instruments are engaged in a dance. Bechet is the better player, but he is grounded and supported by Mezzrow like a good straight man supports the funny guy in a comedy team. Bechet takes flights while Mezz stays true to the path, and they dance while the rest of the band keeps time. There's so much history in this single album that it's hard to talk about it without sounding like a Wikipedia entry. So I'll just say this was lovely, and it sounded good too, despite being a microgroove UK long play pressing. I only wish my grandfather had been more into this than, say, the Dixieland revival stuff he was into in the 50s. I would have loved to have found this album in his collection instead of another Pete Fountain.